A lot of people here, but everybody showed up. First order of business, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody will join in. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we might adjust this agenda, but for now, we will do an agenda review first. Is there any additions that anyone would like to add on to the agenda? You have any?
I got two things. Under the highway department, looking for authorization to apply for a grant from the V-Trans Grant and Aid Program. That's an annual thing. We've already been approved $15,000 that we have to put in the agreement. And also next week we have a Board of Civil Authority meeting if someone is appealing the tax assessor's results of their grievance meeting. So we have to appoint a select board representative. So a representative of the select board just to attend the meeting. They don't necessarily have to say anything, but it's in the event that the town wishes to appeal the Board of Civil Authority's decision, that person would be the one who would start orchestrating to do that. So we just need that appointment.
Not knowing what case it is, do you see any conflict of interest of any member on this board?
I don't know of any at this point. The property is located, I'm not sure how close to Mr. Bourgeois. It's on Palm Shore, so that's the only, but I don't know how close they are to each other.
Well, it might be better if it probably was somebody other than Steve, I guess, you know, because if somebody could through it.
Yep.
Ed, you volunteer? All right, so Ed White will represent the select board at that hearing.
It'll be real easy.
And then I wanted to give them an update from the
You get paid for it.
regional planning.
Oh, yes, we have, Nicole's gonna give us an update from regional planning too. That could go under
New business or
new town business probably, yeah.
Well, no, it's old town business, well, any other business.
Well, there's only one thing there, so.
Okay.
Earl, I got one thing.
What's that?
Under old town business, let's go with that. I got in contact with Northern Basements. I spoke to you about it.
Okay,
I'd like to give an update on that.
Yeah, well, we can get that when we do the library license issue.
Yep, that's fine.
Come in there, yep. Okay. I think we added enough. We're gonna go forward. Well, I'll ask for public comments for anything that is not on the agenda.
Minutes?
Oh, okay, we'll get to it, don't worry. Is there, okay. If there's no public comment, then yes, we gotta do the minutes too, we might as well get that done. Does anybody wanna make a motion, or is there any corrections, additions?
If there's no questions, Chairman, I'll move.
Second, alright, motion been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now we'll do law enforcement, we have the chief here tonight, but I'd like to just thank your department for last night. Very good thing for Swan, a real family event, and there was a lot of families there. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great event, and Sergeant Gagne has organized it at least the last 2 years. So he's done a great job. We had great turnouts both years.
Yeah.
It's a great community event.
And we'll get to the bad side.
All right, so as this is getting passed around here, the summary for July, we responded to 101 incidents in the town. If you look at the top 10 incident types, you'll see 35 directed patrols. The officers, I have one officer who's very good at punching the directed patrol cards. I still have to get the other guys in the habit of punching these cards so you can see, have some idea where they're patrolling. There were 22 traffic stops, and when I looked at this a little further, I actually found 23 traffic stops, and it's just a data entry issue as far as having it flagged appropriately. And there may be some more issues with that. I need to, when I took a deeper dive into this just a few minutes before coming over, when I pulled all of the traffic stops for July, it pulled 63 incidents. But then when I specifically pulled the ones for the village, there were only, I want to say 13 maybe traffic stops. So there is a discrepancy, 63, 23, and 13.
Yeah.
The math isn't working there, so I need to figure out what's going on with the data as it's pulled out of the system. There were 7 property home watches, 6 suspicious person calls, 4 motor vehicle complaints, 4 boating incidents, 3 welfare checks, and 3 calls for domestics, 2 search warrant cards, and 2 agency assists. If you look at the traffic stops, out of the 23 traffic stops, there were actually, I know your sheet says 6 tickets issued, but there was a ticket issued on the extra traffic stop that I found, so there were actually 23 traffic stops total, 7 tickets issued, 17 warnings issued, and there were 3 arrest charges, and those related to 2 specific individuals. Chair Fournier mentioned National Night Out. It was another great, again, successful event for us in the community as a whole. I mean, it's really about, I had the news contact me today, and I said it's great when we get to interact with people without it having to be a professional law enforcement contact, which can also often be negative to some degree, certainly. So it's really nice when we get out there in the community and people can interact with us, the officers, without having that context associated with the contact. Also, just in reference to the traffic stops, I know there was issues with speeding in Quam Shore last year. I went out myself. You'll see the date, what was it, the 22nd. I was down on Quam Shore for 5 hours monitoring traffic. I must have measured the speed of approximately 200 vehicles with our new LiDAR units, and pretty much everybody was within 10 miles per hour of the limit. I had the 3 vehicles that were right at just 10 over.
When you say 10, Chief, you mean they were under 50?
Correct, 50 or under, yeah, within 10 of the speed limit. So I was somewhat surprised by that, because when I did the same thing last year, I had quite a few that were well in excess of 15, 20. We did have some incidents. Obviously, there was a motorcycle incident last year at very, very high speeds late at night. So we'll continue to monitor the area for traffic. But,
Thank you.
We have been leveraging resources with sharp details, Governor Highway Safety details in the town, focusing on 105, 78, some of these other areas that are problem areas.
Thanks.
And we'll continue to do that.
Chief, I did have a call this afternoon from a local resident down on South River, closer to County Road, on South River. He's got that trucking company there on the left at the big garage.
Yeah.
And he's asking, he called and wanted to know if I could speak with you and possibly get that speed warning thing down there.
Yeah,
And,
the sign.
I noticed in doing Meals on Wheels down there, they're using that for a racetrack. I mean, and he says they're stopping right in front of his house and they're spinning the tires and there's black marks all over the place. I know you can't babysit that area, but I thought maybe if we could put that, your speed thing down there for a couple days, at least we get their attention that you're monitoring it,
We can definitely do that, and it is good because it'll actually pull a data set in the area also, so we'll see how many vehicles traveled through that area and what their speeds actually were.
Okay. So you'll take care of that?
Yes,
I'll get back
we
to
will
you.
do that, and we have had conversations with that family actually before
Okay.
with some of the issues as far as the starting parked vehicles is what it's called, but burning,
Yeah.
vehicles burning out their tires.
And like I said, if you take a drive out, he's not exaggerating.
Yeah,
They're there. Okay, thank you.
yes.
Yes. Because the price of tires,
You know,
I want to thank you, Chief, and once again for National Night Out facilities here in Swanton. A good thing for Swanton. You know, hopefully that's going to grow in the future, and maybe maybe the select board itself should participate a little bit in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, maybe give some civil lessons so people understand how local government works. And maybe we'll have more crowds like we do tonight.
Well, speaking about that, Chair, I was just sharing with Steve, I don't wanna feel like we're copycats, but after seeing the attendance last night that we had, in the park, I would like to figure out a way that we could do it. St. Albans does it every Wednesday night. They have a band come and play. What's your thoughts on that, Chief?
I think it's a great idea as far as bringing people into Swanton. I think it'd be great for the businesses in the Merchants Row area there. I mean, I know we're looking at putting in a new restaurant in front of Memorial Ace Hardware there, so.
Yep.
I think it's great to bring people together like that with these civic events, and I would definitely support it. We have Corn Fest coming up, so that'll be, I know it's kind of new. Maybe there were some events done previously many years ago, but to get these civic events going again, I think it's a great idea.
What I'll do, Earl, is I'll talk with St. Albans and find out just how that works. If these bands are donating their time, like I know last night, they donated their time.
Yeah,
'Cause
everything, that's the other thing.
It's a different band every Wednesday night.
I would also speak to the Chamber of Commerce. They had traditionally in the past organized concerts in the park. And I believe that stopped prior to COVID, and
Okay.
so that may be something that they're interested in continuing to carry on, as it is a great support to the downtown businesses.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I guess did we have a health officer report in
there
here?
was no activity.
No activity. Is that a good thing or a bad
Well,
thing?
I think it was a good thing.
Good thing. Then we'll do the flood hazardous mitigation program, and Stephanie Smith is on Zoom, so we welcome you to the meeting. And give us an explanation of how the program works and what the town's responsibilities are.
Yes, so thank you guys for having me, and can you hear me okay? Yes. All right, I'm very sorry I'm not in person. I was hoping to be in person, and we had to reschedule because my team got sucked into response from this very significant flooding event that we're dealing with. So I apologize for not being there, but happy to chat with you about the program. Is it helpful for me to just walk you through what the full program looks like from start to finish, and then you guys can ask questions?
I guess we did, there was some concern by the board that the town was accepting liability when we accept this land. It's our understanding that we become responsible for that land.
Yes, so at the end of the process, the town owns the parcels. So it's 3 parcels that we're talking about here. They're all parcels that have significant risk. And following the flooding that we just saw in the state, we're doing a lot of buyouts of properties that were destroyed by that event. Thankfully, that wasn't as big of an event in Swanton as it was in other areas of the state, but in a perfect world, the idea is that we're buying properties before there's a significant flooding event, to protect the people that are living in those homes, to make sure that there isn't someone else moving in that's gonna then experience that same level of flooding. And ultimately at the end, the town ends up owning the parcel. So the town manages the grant with very significant handholding and assistance from the wonderful team that I have here at Vermont Emergency Management, and ends up owning the parcel at the end to be maintained as open space. So what that looks like is, as long as it's meeting the open space requirements, it's up to the community. So some communities let it grow wild. Don't do anything with it, and we could pay for some riparian plantings or something like that if you were interested in that. Otherwise, we can just seed it and grade it and leave it. You could mow it if you wanted to, at a minimum, or if you wanted to put in like a little parklet that doesn't have any infrastructure and make it as a community asset, but something that can flood if it needs to, you could do that too. So within it's required to be open space. There are a couple of options in terms of what the community does with the parcels going forward.
So if we accept that property then, and we just say, hey, we're not gonna ever set foot on there again, and it grows up, that we're okay.
That's fine. Yes, the idea is that the home isn't there to flood. It's available as floodplain if the river is high and needs to access it. And now there isn't a person there who's going to be flooded out. So it's up to you guys if you want to just leave it and let it grow, if you want to mow it so that it's something that someone could walk on or put a little park on it. It's up to you guys what you want to do.
So
Yes, Reggie.
Other questions on the process?
Yeah, Reggie Belleville, from the village, I don't know, maybe you know him, Nor.
Well, yeah, Stephanie, so I'm Reg Belleville. In this capacity, I'm actually the emergency manager
That's
for,
right.
for Swanton. So, I mean, the board appointed me back in '88. So being appointed by the board, my responsibility is to the citizens of Swanton to make sure that they're safe. My other job, new job now, is I was part of the MARCs, the multi-agency recovery committees. So I was positioned throughout the state, anywhere from Woodstock all the way up to Barton. So I think I attended 8 MARCs throughout the state. These people are showing up, they look like zombies, their homes are gone. A lot of them are heavily damaged. In 2018, there was a home that the basement was blown out from the ice. And our fire department was in there at 2 in the morning taking kids out over their heads, tethered to the trucks, and you got ice chunks flying by. So any work that we can do to try to mitigate some of these properties that these homeowners want to get out, we should do. I know some people were saying that there were some residents down there saying that we're forcing them out. This is not a force out. This is an opportunity that if you really want to get out, it seems like it's a good opportunity to get out of your property. So.
And there has been a change in how the property's paid for, or the amount being.
Yeah, Stephanie could probably elaborate more on that as well.
Do you mean the amount that the homeowner will get for their property?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's based on if for the properties that flooded in this most recent event, we can do a day before the storm value. For properties like, I don't think any of these actually flooded during the most recent event, so we would do a current market appraisal. So it's the current, the town would hire someone once we get the grant. The first step is for the town to hire someone to do appraisals. It would be based on the current market value. And we have 100, so FEMA covers 75% of the project costs, and we have match funding for the 25%. So we're covering 100% of the project costs. So to include that appraisal, the town attorney pulling the titles for the properties, developing closing documents, purchasing the structures at that current market appraised value, and then paying for demo and then seeding and grading of the sites. All of that is included in the grant.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I was down by there today. My name is Steve Bourgeois. And I think I counted 21 properties along Route 78, including the motel that has been made into multi-unit apartments or something. I didn't see any for sale signs. And one parcel just got sold. It was reported in the paper within the last month, and it was a nice property, and I think they got a fair price. So is the absence of for sale signs, is that indicative that people can't sell their properties, or they're not interested in selling their properties?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of the people that end up coming to me and wanting to do a buyout are coming to me because they don't know what else to do and they can't sleep when it rains. And so I've heard a lot of very sad stories like that. And it's not people that are just trying to make a quick buck. It's people that they don't want someone else to live in that house and experience the same trauma that they have from having to worry about flooding.
Yeah, there's some very
That's
nice
my
homes.
experience with buyouts across the state.
Yeah, there's some very nice homes down there. They're all built, if they've been built in the last 15 years, they're way above the flood level or whatever. So I'm wondering, have you heard anything directly from any of the homeowners down there that they are looking to vacate their homes?
Yeah, so the
I
three.
think Ryan had meetings with three.
The three properties that we're talking about, yes, are people that have said, we want to do this project. So they've agreed to at least see it through. They're not committed to it. It's completely voluntary. They can change their mind up until they sign things at a closing table. So if the appraisal comes back and it's lower than they thought and they change their mind, that's okay. We'll still pay for that appraisal. It's voluntary until they sign at the closing table. But yes, these are three property owners that have said they want to opt into this program.
How long will it take from start to finish?
It's a good question. So once the applications are just about ready to go. So if you guys agree, we can get them off to FEMA fairly quickly. And it can be 6 months or so before we actually get an award from FEMA, and then we'd be able to start doing appraisals. So we have a full 3 years to actually complete the project. I really hope it won't take that long. I likely won't, but I think 12 to 18 months is reasonable.
How long is the window open for the 100% purchase price?
How long? Well, so this funding, the funding round that we have open now is from the December, is actually not from this current flooding event. It's from the December storm that we had at the end of last year. So the application deadline to FEMA will be in December. So we can submit applications anytime. So if we have these ready to go, we can send them now, but the application deadline is in December. And then we're going to have a very significant amount of interest in our next funding round. So I anticipate that being competitive because of how much damage we saw during this last event. So if you guys are willing to move forward, I would highly recommend getting it in under this current funding round before we get to the funding round from the July storm that we just experienced.
So how long will this funding lie? I mean, I think you're telling us it's going to become competitive. That's probably good. But how long before the program expires?
So this current round, the applications have to be submitted before December.
December.
Yes. And they're about ready to go. So if you guys are ready to move forward, you can submit them now and people will start reviewing them now.
So everybody all the homeowners that were affected by the flood, because we had a pretty detailed list, every one of them received a letter. So
And 3 responded out of
only
21,
3
or
responded, yeah.
10%.
I mean, one of the issues you see now is housing shortages.
Well,
Right.
that's my concern.
So now, I mean, some of these, I know there's one gentleman that I spoke with, he already has a place. So he's ready to go. But yeah. And now with this flooding that we've had, the housing shortage is gonna be even tighter.
Yeah, we have recognized in this town plan, which was very well written, by the way. I've read that thing, they did a great job. Housing shortage, housing needs, it came up time and time and time again. And I feel like we're working against our plans if we could potentially eliminate 21 homes.
So the part of this is, with the flooding that happened in July, life safety was a factor. When we showed up to this property, these properties down there at 2 in the morning, it was less than 20 minutes and the water was chest high. That's how quickly we had to act. We didn't have time to evacuate everybody. And they got life safety, the fire department had to bug out, and we just had to wait it out and just pray nobody got killed, swept away. Some people did not want to leave, and some people really did.
Yeah, we had a gentleman that was here a couple of meetings ago, and he said that about 50% of Swanton's land mass is now either in the development rights have been sold, the government owns it, the state owns it. So we've only got half our land mass left, according to this gentleman. I think he was pretty credible that was giving us that information. So I guess my reservation is we keep taking land away from our future use, our homes, and we're already giving up 50% of it. That's my concern.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Go ahead.
As a current landowner down there, we're on
What's your
Foundry
name?
Street.
Could you-
Jen Gagne.
Jen Gagne, yeah.
We're a current owner down on Foundry Street, and we built a house down there in 2004, and have been down there 20 years. And didn't realize that we were in a flood zone until we built the house, and the mortgage company requested us to pay flood insurance. That's when we were shown the flood map and realized we were just on the edge of that flood zone. I thought we would never flood, and we lived there for a good long time before this flood of 2018. And never thought in any way, shape, or form where we were that we could potentially flood. And learned a lot very quickly, and have continued to learn a lot watching that river just recently, and how the difference of the land elevations affect all of us down there. And I'm not scared, but I'm on edge every now and then when we have weather in the winter, when we get rain like this. I mean, the weather forecast of 90 degrees to -30 was like a perfect storm, and we're in the wrong place. So, I mean, we have thought about selling that house at times as we have grown and our family's grown, but we have such reservations for anybody to move into that house.
Are you in the
because
town or the village? I went down by there the other
Village.
day. You're in the village.
we're on Foundry Street.
Boundary Street
I
there is.
know where it is. I drove by the other day and I couldn't figure out.
And we're on the far end of it, so it's the way that backfield works. The ice made the river make a path through that backfield. And the way that there was a hump in that backfield, the backflow was what came towards our house and flooded our basement. So it wasn't something I ever even imagined could happen, but it did. And now that I watch the different ways that our weather patterns have gone, I fear for what could come potentially in the future due to the way the weather keeps changing and what these rivers keep doing. So even this last bit of rain that we just got, I mean, we were good, and then all of a sudden it was raging and it was high. And, you know, at that point in time, we were in danger of it coming over the road at that bridge. I mean, who would ever thought that water would have gone that high? Had that come down that road, all of our houses would have been gone. Ice chunks would have taken our houses down that river. I mean, and it's at the same point now where as if it crests that road where it goes down to the boat launch, our houses all over there, I mean, with how much debris was coming down that river, potentially could take pretty much everything we own right off the foundations.
Yeah.
So when we saw that this was an option for us and to be able to know that we have a safe way to get out of there, we're not putting anybody else in a predicament, and we can not have to worry every day about what this weather could potentially do with this river. Had we known this when we built there, we probably would have never built there. But 20 years ago,
But,
we weren't aware of this.
We understand your concern, and your point is what this whole issue is about. I mean, yes, we need housing. Steve's point is very legitimate. But we got housing that we don't know how long it's gonna be there and when we're gonna have to rebuild it. Doesn't make a lot of sense to keep it there. We'd be better off investing money in places where it's gonna be
Yeah.
at least somewhat secure against what we know now.
Yeah. And one other thing is we got those in the mail. I just will say, I spoke with a lot of people down there too. And it was portrayed, and you know, like that's just the way the world is right now. There's a lot of scams, a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of people who didn't understand it, who had a lot of hesitancy, a lot of questions about it. Like, we just followed up on it just to get our questions answered, but I feel like there might be a lot more people down there who would be on board to this if they understood it a little bit better. If somebody explained to them and they understood it was something legit. I mean, you get things in the mail all the time that are scams, and it's hard to know what is legit and what is not these days. So I feel like there probably would be more people on board to this if they really understood what it was and how it could help them, because I know, talking to them, a lot of them went through what we went through. It was awful. It was awful. And we watched that river like a hawk, you know, as it was rising this last time. And we're all down there. We're all talking because we're all wondering what is it going to do. We're watching the river gauges, you know, it's something we have to keep doing throughout the year several times, and I know that there's a lot of people down there that would like to not have to do that anymore.
I tried to get a public forum, but they felt that the state felt that the buyout was more of a personal, one-on-one thing rather than having a group of people in a room. So in Muscogee, we did try to do that as far as Swanton goes. This office did try to do that. So, yeah, I mean, we could always try again, I guess,
Yeah.
with Stephanie's team, I guess.
Or maybe
we
if
could
they
try
see some people do it, maybe
Okay.
it will.
that. Joel's,
Okay, Brian, well,
Well, I was, Mr. had his hand up.
Just a couple things. I was involved with the flooding at the same time that Reggie was. This is truly what you said, Earl. This is a life safety issue. This is not a housing issue. That's a side effect from this.
Yep.
But this is a life safety issue that basically is not going to cost Swanton taxpayers additional money other than maybe mowing some grass if we choose to do that. Pretty small amount to take care of 3 people willing to give up their homes and move out of those areas. So one who went through that same time frame and we were on the verge of losing people, fully support it. Second thing I'd like to know is what is the flood pipe out there that was mentioned? And these other homes being built above it, how much higher above it than the flood zone you mentioned, sir?
I don't understand your question, Doug.
You said that the homes that are down there were built, the new homes were built above the flood zone.
I know one in particular, the fellow had to raise his foundation up.
I mean, I'm asking what is the flood level that we're talking about down there?
I think it's 103 feet.
Okay, well, I just wanted to get what the facts are.
I think it's 103 feet.
yeah,
So
it was
if
changed, wasn't it changed when we had that exceptional high water one spring? I don't know.
Lake Champlain was 104, I think.
Yeah,
and they
something
had-
like that.
So in order to build, you had to go 103
Yeah.
easily.
And the ice was a whole different
But-
story as far as that 103. That ice
Yeah.
built up probably
That's
a
right.
lot higher than that.
That's right, but that's only if they were built after the
Yeah.
record high water. Well, the decision that we have to do here tonight is just that we just opt into the program.
Can I just mention?
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm testing my memory here, but in 2018, that was discovered by the occupant of that house, called 911 because she smelled propane
Their tank was full.
and her tank was floating. In fact, she had not made that call to 911, the fire department never would have responded. They're the ones that discovered that things were going down the river fast. So that was very fortunate that that call was made when it was.
Should make a move.
I'll make a motion to get on board with it, to do it.
Second that.
All right, we got a motion, and it's been seconded. We had plenty of discussion. Unless somebody on the board has had more comments, if not, then I'll ask for all those in favor.
Aye.
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 All right, so the motion carried, so we'll be working with you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
And thank you, Reggie.
If I could, just one more topic. I discussed with, just briefly, I discussed with Brian that Brian is the assistant manager, emergency manager when I'm out of town.
Right.
And I know Brian's getting busy. I'm getting busy now, even though I'm retired. I'm still getting busy. So succession planning is something I'm looking at, and I'm not young anymore. So I would like to appoint Jason Butler, who used to be the fire chief for quite a few years, as the assistant emergency management coordinator for Swanton, and you folks have to appoint that.
And I assume
He's on board with it as well. I had a conversation with him, I had a conversation with Brian.
okay. So, anybody wanna make a motion to appoint him, has,
I'll make a motion to appoint him.
Second.
second, all right, motion's been made and seconded. I don't think there's any discussion, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, so he has a new job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see here. No matter which one we pick here. Now, if we do the icing issue, that's separate from the MOU. We probably don't need the historical society here for the icing issue unless they want to know the details of it.
Rebecca's coming for the MOU. She's on her way.
She's on her way?
Yeah, she had her times mixed up.
All right, then we'll do the icing issue. And I
All right,
know
thank you.
you had something you wanted to say, Ed. I also met with, and we'll get your input in here, but I just want to report that I met with Neil Spear. He has a history with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
He has a history with the issues at the library. He's been involved at times, different times. Came up with some solutions that he thought were working at the time, but they probably weren't practical solutions because that involved fans and they needed to be turned on and off. And he also feels very strongly that that basement problem really started after the gutters got ripped down because of the ice. So it seems like addressing this ice issue might be a big help for other problems too. He didn't give no definite plan. Now we had somebody contact the
Yeah.
architect.
We've been in contact with Arnold and Skangus Architects that have an offices in Alden's. And they would be willing to look at it, to come up with a plan. Their per hour fee is $136 per hour. We don't know, of course, how many hours work is involved, but that's probably a place we should consider starting.
Okay, my first question would be, would he come up and take a look at it, and could he tell us how long he think he would have to, I mean, I hate to give him an open-ended.
Right. I can contact them and see if he can come up, take a look, give us an estimate of what we're looking at for time.
Yeah.
It'd be his looking at it, designing something, and
Because Neil, suggested several things, maybe, more vents, et cetera, possibly spray foam insulation, but you gotta understand the real basic problem is them furnaces upstairs. I mean, we probably should have done something when we had the opportunity. But we might be able to work around that by putting some kind of ventilation system in there. Because that generates a lot of heat up there in the attic area. So when you get heat and you got snow on the roof and, I think there are some viable options, but
Didn't
I would,
Didn't the Alliance guy have some suggestions too while they were putting things in? I thought he was talking about maybe putting up a wall.
well, that's a possibility, but you're still gonna have heat generated from that furnace room.
Right.
Even though it's insulated, but maybe there's better ways of insulating it too. These are some of the things that Neil was talking about, and he's in the business. I'm not in the business, but I understand some common sense stuff. You got a lot of heat and you got snow, it's gonna melt. And then it turns cold, it's gonna turn to ice. You can't get around that. And I don't know, that's the basement's another issue. So right now we're talking about this. I would recommend that we at least contact Mr. Skangus and see if he'd be willing to at least give us some idea of what's gonna cost us and see the company may not like the plan, but if it isn't a lot of money, because we gotta do something about this, and the sooner we do it, the better. I'd hate to go through another winter. And in the meantime, if we're gonna address this, maybe we should start seriously thinking about getting gutters back up there.
Pretty inexpensive solution.
So we'd have to contact, it's not gonna be over where we need to put out an RFP, so I don't know, there must be several people in the.
well, a couple of years ago, we had somebody put gutters on here.
Up here, you
Yeah.
remember who that was, Kathy?
It was Jason Stoddard,
Yeah.
has it's not Champlain Door, it's another business.
The guy by the name of Champlain Gutters, I think.
Yeah. It's
Just
Jason stuff.
Put an RFP out, see what we get.
Oh, I think,
Yeah.
I don't wanna fool around with all that, we might as well get this started, because, we're getting a lot of rain, we might continue to get it. Alright, now you could give us what you found out about the basement.
Well, as I discussed with you, Earl, I heard nothing but positive things about this northern basement. They are a Burlington, Chittenden County based business, but all they deal with is basements. So I spoke with the person there today, and they've set up an appointment, and they explained to me, which is, I'm sure everybody here will understand, because of the present situation we've had with water. It'd be Thursday, August 17th at 2:30. They would come up and take a look at it and give us recommendations and what it would cost to take care of the problem.
That's not gonna cost us anything.
Nope.
Well, we'll put that on the schedule.
So, August 17th
2:30.
at 2:30 in the afternoon. I'd be happy to attend. I don't know if you want to attend to it or not.
I will try. I think, you know, we ought to put if Brian can send out an email the day before, just
Yep.
Who's
make
coming
sure.
on the 17th?
Yes.
Northern Basements out of Chittenden County.
Northern Basements?
Yeah.
Out of Chittenden
Okay.
County. Yeah.
That, the basement's gonna be full of children that day, just so FYI, there's summer camp that day.
Well, what, that's a
They
fun.
can look around the kids, but just.
Yeah,
so you know.
well, we ain't, that side's all right.
Right, but
So.
I mean, they're kind of,
Oh, it's
they're
all right.
not in that room, but they're
Yeah.
everywhere else.
I'll bring Nicole, she knows how to take care of it.
Or you can come play with us.
That's a great option too.
But, yeah, but we need to keep this moving forward.
Oh, I agree.
Otherwise, it's not gonna get done.
Okay. I'll put out an email. Well, we're meeting a couple of nights before the 17th.
Yeah, okay, that's right,
or the
yeah.
15th, so.
Okay, that's what I got, Earl.
Alright, so the plan is, we're gonna set up that, you're gonna get a hold of Genghis.
Yep.
And as soon as, you know, when he can look at it, let us know.
Yep.
And it'd be not such a bad idea if we, you know, select board members could attend that too. Get us a good idea of what he's thinking anyways. So we try to get that issue straightened out. So we're still waiting for, is that her?
She's walking in right
Oh,
now.
good, good, good. Everybody jump up and holler surprise.
Folks, thanks.
Thanks, Rex.
See you, Rex, thank you.
Rex.
Yeah, it's
Hi
it,
guys, I thought you started at 7.
Just in time, we were waiting for
Oh,
you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
And you'll have to update her on what we just talked about, but you can do that after the meeting, okay? All right, now we're gonna go to the memorandum of understanding between the library, the historical society, and the town concerning that space that the historic society has used for years. We put out a draft, and we're not married to it, okay, so we're open to your comments. All right, so who wants to start?
We can start with notes.
Yes, we do, we have notes. We are starting out with a teeny weeny little thing, which is under number 2, we don't ordinarily present our programs for approval to the select board.
We just want that one word.
So if you
down.
could just cut that. This says we,
Present our budget and.
yeah, budget and programs. So unless you want to hear an endless list of what programs we're going to have scheduled at
Oh,
the library, you
I see.
don't want that on
No.
this memorandum.
Okay,
Should it be annual budget for operating the
Yeah,
board for
annual
voters?
budget, yeah. And then we come to number 3, which is the long-standing,
which one?
number 3,
Number 3.
long-standing gentleman's
Yep.
agreement.
Yep.
One of the problems that the library has with this memo of understanding is that it is very, very open-ended. And one of the problems that we've sort of had all along is that we've been talking to the Historical Society, whom we really do love, for years about the possession of this space, which the library desperately needs. And we can nothing ever moves. So, having a memorandum of understanding that says, until such time as the Historical Society can find a permanent home, you know, kind of feels to me like never. And at the very least, I'd like to have some kind of option for benchmarks that shows that we're moving along on trying to find a permanent home. Anything to add on that?
Taking them notes down, I think she got a good point on that, for sure.
You know, what we've got is an end, like, you know, the next time we're gonna review this is 2 years from now.
Which, yeah, so maybe at least an annual review, if nothing else, but also maybe like some reports from the Historical Society on the progress they're making at looking for new spaces would be beneficial as well.
And
Okay.
anything that they're working on, you know, the library would be happy to help in any way we can.
Well, this is gonna be a long-term process.
Right, we
You know,
understand that.
That's for sure, you know, everybody needs to understand that.
Yeah, I mean, we know there's
But
not gonna be a
you know,
magic building.
Patience, yeah. Okay, that's all you have?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope, and here's a big problem, is for the library to provide accommodation for storage of the Historical Society's furnishings and collection during repairs. We're already in trouble for space. I don't know where the library could possibly store all the contents of the Historical Society room, other than across the hall in the community room, which means the library now ends up with 2 rooms downstairs that we can't use. And the community room is already over scheduled. I mean, I don't know how much you've got going on, at least 4 classes.
Yeah.
Well, one option that we were considering is only doing, we'll know more once it gets inspected and this, you know, what we talked about when you weren't here takes place. It's maybe doing a portion of the room at a time, so we don't have to move everything out, okay? We're trying to accommodate everybody's needs, and it's not easy.
No.
Fortunately, I've been married 49 years, so I practice that. I practice. Not good at it, but I practice.
Mediation.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Let's see, I don't think so. No, we got the open-ended,
Yep,
you know,
yep,
nothing.
we got that
to-
noted, we've got
Yep.
that noted.
So,
Jason?
you know, that would cover us.
What would you suggest for a closure on that?
A close,
Closure, how would you said you don't want it open-ended. Would you have a year or?
I don't think that at this point we can put a
No.
given endpoint
Okay.
on it, but what I think we would like to see at the library is some idea that we're all trying to make progress.
Yeah.
So if every
It's not
once in a
just sitting
while,
stagnant.
they could let us know that, yes, we're applying for grants, yes, we've talked about this with the select board, it wouldn't feel like this is just status quo and it's just sitting there like we've been yipping about for a long time.
Fair comment. Jason?
No, well, yeah.
Thank you.
I
So,
didn't mean to.
Shh, quiet.
with all due respect, and I really appreciate the action that the board took last meeting in rescinding the earlier letter, but the library's concern about the space issue downstairs, that was the exact feeling that the Historical Society had when we received a memo saying that we had to vacate the room in 90 days. So I just want to put that out.
Right, I understand, okay.
Individual Historical Society members may have specific comments, but I forwarded the memorandum to the Historical Society board, and if there's just a couple of small corrections, that's fine, but I'm willing to sign tonight or tomorrow.
Well, I think what Rebecca's brought up are legitimate. I think, you know, we need to make sure that we're moving forward, because I really don't feel that's the ideal place for those artifacts, to be honest with you. And I don't think I think that the town and the community would probably appreciate them more in another spot, but we know that's not gonna happen right but we need to be working in that direction. And so how would we set up benchmark? We go, Heather?
I just wanted to make note on progress of looking for spots. I did pursue the Sheldon House, and it seems like the Champlain Trust is moving forward with it. As of last week, I was notified. So we are looking for other areas. I know that you had mentioned some ideas too that I would like to pursue. It would be an active thing, but again, it's a long-term solution. Willing to work with you and the library on keeping this active and keeping a.
I don't think we need to get into details of different places tonight.
Correct.
We need,
But I did
how do we
want to
keep
note
this
that-
moving forward, and how do we all know it's moving forward?
Yes.
Fair enough?
Like a year would be too long of a check-in time frame, or in 6 months? What's
Quarterly?
quarterly?
I like
quarterly.
I like quarterly.
Okay. I think quarterly.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you have to come here to a meeting, but just something, a written report of, you know, what kind of activities you took place. And I'm gonna ask this question of every member of the board, but I assume that we would be supporting their effort and providing what resources we could for them to be successful, you know.
Can I make a suggestion, Betsy Fournier?
Yep.
So the rec department just did a property search, so it might be a good idea for the Historical Society to do the same thing. I mean, we got some feedback, so it might be a great opportunity for the Historical Society to put something out there to the community, and there could be a spot that nobody really knows about, but someone's offering it up.
Yes, that's a great idea.
That'd be a starting point for sure. So, Jason's, I hate to, it's like a man with got money in his hand, you don't want to believe what hell.
I heard long-term, so I'm willing to sign.
Well, I think if we update the language to say that, you know, that the Historical Society will at least at a minimum email quarterly to the select board. And I think it's a good idea that you do it to the library too, okay? Just to keep a good line of communication, because you're probably going to see them more than you see us. And we'll have that in there, added into there. What were the other things?
We'll take
The space for storage.
Storage space, get rid of programs in number 2.
Programs will always ask us, this is like budget season, correct?
Yeah.
The budget season, we always get people are inquiring about what type of, that's why I think that we put it in there
We did.
before.
Well, you know, certainly we list costs when it comes to
Well, not necessarily cost, they wanna know
programming.
what you're offering to the community for
And
programs.
we do that at
So-
budget season
So if you
too,
do
but
that,
We
so
can,
they can, this is just for a part of that budget season, and correct?
I guess
So we
so.
do get people who ask, it'd be
it
nice to
seems,
have.
it seems weird that it's on this.
Yeah, it does. I
Yeah,
thought that
That's
Yeah.
more the problem.
was, yeah.
Not
I mean,
that,
yeah,
on
you're
our MOU with
On
the
the-
town, yes,
Yeah.
we report that, but it's weird in this context.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about that too. I don't know. I mean,
we're
that should be
happy-
part of the original one.
And it is,
I think it is.
but I don't
Yeah.
know why it's
Right,
here.
but what was meant here is your annual budget includes your operations plus your programs, and that's all this is trying
Right,
to say.
well,
That's, I think, what it came to.
yes, so I don't think we need to
Okay,
do
so
that.
that, there wasn't much else in there, right?
And the other big one though is the reasonable space for temporary accommodation.
Which we
Yes,
can-
yes, that will,
Yeah.
that, maybe the wording should simply say that the 3 boards will meet or something before all this takes place and agree on how it's gonna take place. And we'll know more once we have them contractors take a look at it. Then we'll come up with a plan to get it done. I mean,
Maybe we could put in there that we will meet and adjust this at that time to include what we've agreed upon. Because
well, I don't think we need to adjust that. I think all we need to do is put in there that we will, you know, all meet after, once we come up with a repair plan. Once the repair plan's agreed to, then we'll come up, we'll all meet and agree of how we're gonna handle the situation.
Right, see what kind of accommodation might be
Right,
necessary.
that's right.
You know, the contractor could come in and say, oh my God, you've got to get everything out of there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know everything right now, but at least before any commitment is made, you know, we all have an understanding of what's going on, and, you know, we're committed to it. We've gotta figure a way of getting it done. Okay? And then, Abby, make sure you let her know about all the other, repair stuff that we talked about tonight. So, you guys came out pretty good tonight. Jason, do you got anything you wanna add?
Unless there's anything other members of the board want to say.
Let's go ahead, Glenn.
Thank you. Just as the library says it appreciates the Historical Society, I guess I could say the same thing how we feel. I want to offer another point of view. I've worked in the room since 1999. The so-called gentleman's agreement mentioned in the MOU, I only know more because I worked with Ron Kilburn for 20 years. And he explained to me several times before this became an issue that Art Spear, Neil's father, approached him when the library received the donation from the Winters. And the library was being expanded. And the Historical Society was invited to occupy the space which had been the cold storage room in the basement. And it's sort of the dankest, darkest, mustiest room in the building. So no one is thrilled to have anything historic stored in there. On the other hand, we've been there for 25 years. It gets wet carpets every time we have more than normal rain, whether it's a tropical storm or just 2 days with windy rain. We've been through it many times before the town owned it, as you do now, or is responsible for it anyway. So those other times, the carpet got wet, we put in fans, we brought in vacuums, and a week later the carpet dried up, and we went back to normal. Now, I know you don't want to do that this time, so I don't contest that the room needs to be repaired. And I know that other repairs have been done over the last 20 years, and I pointed that out when we met there recently. The water used to come in through the ceiling, and then it comes in a different corner, and so if a better space can be found and is found, I don't think anybody would object to hauling out all of that stuff to a new place. On the other hand, I feel that unfortunately, Becky and I were on very good terms and we're still not enemies, but when we worked together on the Historical Society and she was on the library, she mentioned to me several times, 3 or 4 years ago, we really need your space, or we really don't think you're maximizing the use of it. Well, we occupy a 20 by 30 foot room, which is about a quarter of one floor. And there are 3 floors in the building. I tried to measure it the best I could. And I understand that they have finger painting and macrame and Zumba and yoga and writers and cooking and a million other things. And nobody would begrudge them that, but it seems to me, and I hate to sound prejudiced, I'm not, but it just seems to me that they keep needing more and more space. And I'm regretting that our room, which is the last real estate that's available, is falling victim to too many programs and not enough space. I would have said, well, just hold off on programs until there is more space and don't be overbooked. I don't really feel that we're worthy, that it's worth sacrificing us until an appropriate space can be found. And I'm a little upset that it's up to us now to go doing real estate searches for space. We have a minimal staff. We're a shrinking organization. We're trying to keep this thing afloat. So more burdens is going to make it more difficult than it already is. But we're all willing to help, I know.
Okay, appreciate your concerns. I think some of that, what you're talking about, has nothing to do with the board. That may be between, you know, personalities more than the issue.
I hope not.
Okay? All right, hey, you guys can talk about that outside. Anyways, but the issue is, long-term, that is not the ideal facility for that.
I agree. 100%.
And as a member of the Historical Society, I think you should be excited that want to see something better happen and the town is willing to commit resources to do it and sign the document.
But didn't I hear 10 minutes ago that the Historical Society people would have to start a I don't know, a search for real estate, like you had suggested for the rec.
Don't have to.
You don't have to, it
You
was
don't
a
have to.
suggestion.
It was a suggestion.
Well, if you're gonna move, you're gonna have to look for a place, Glenn. I mean, that's the only thing.
Are we gonna have to pay for that place?
Well, we're not even at that point.
Okay.
No, as I stated, and every member on this board said very clearly that we are supported and we'll support your effort. You know, and that could be getting funding, that could be bringing something in the future before the voters. Who knows at this point? But we gotta start doing it. Okay?
Sure.
And that means that when we get done, we got the problem taken care of. It's not a Band-Aid deal that's been going on for the last 20 years.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, so let's get the document printed up with the corrections we made, and everybody come in and sign it. And the board will approve our signature on it.
Okay,
Fair enough?
sounds good.
All right.
Can I just ask one question? The museum is really a gem for Swan.
Which museum, Steve?
Ron's museum down here.
The Railroad and Transportation one.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of Swan's gems. Is there any potential in discussing moving all of your operations down there? It wouldn't work?
We have talked about it, Steve, and I know you don't want to take up time.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
60-second summary. That building is pretty full now with things, and it's set up as a public museum. We welcome visitors from May through October. There is a basement with a steep wobbly stairway, and you wouldn't want to carry antique showcases down there and just ignore them. So if we put things in there somehow, it would mean sacrificing the area that we have for public programs and displays and easy walkability for visitors from all over the country.
So visitors can go in and sell it?
No, they may not.
Oh, okay.
But it was proposed at one time that we move some of our stuff down there. And I think the highway department guys would have said, oh boy, no thanks, we can't do that.
Okay.
Well, that's what we need to figure out, is what's gonna be the best solution for those. And I was down there, and I hadn't been down there for a lot of years, so I forgot what was down there. There's a lot of nice stuff down there that people really should see. So, we're gonna, the corrections, note the corrections, Brian, make sure everybody is happy. Can you read them out?
Well, if I can read my writing.
No, Al?
Never mind.
And then the board can make a motion that we agree to this. And then,
Okay, well, on the first page in paragraph 2, we'll X out and programs. And then in paragraph 3, the board, let's see, the board will work with the society to secure a suitable space to meet their needs. Then we'll insert there, we will have an established benchmark with this historical society providing quarterly updates, emailed to the select board with a copy to the library trustees. Okay, is that?
Yep, that's good.
That's okay, all right. And then down in number 5, from their areas stated above, the 3 boards will meet to discuss once the repair plans are made.
yeah, that's how we're gonna handle what space we need and all that, okay? So that's all I was gonna say, we're taking out what was there before and putting that into place.
Should make reasonable, yeah, we'll put that, we'll have that discussion.
Yeah.
Once we know what we're
Yeah.
gonna do there.
And do we want to, in 7, it was discussed maybe to review the MOU annually instead of giving it an
Annually, so it'd
expiration
be
date?
2024.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it an expiration
Okay.
date to say it's an.
And-
The MOU is to be reviewed annually and may be renewed by all
Yeah.
parties.
Okay. Yep. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that once these changes have been made, make a motion that we go forward.
Okay, you wanna second it?
I think it should be added that, do we give Brian the authority to sign on behalf, or do we nominate you to sign it on behalf of the select board?
Well, I think I will sign that.
Okay.
I took enough grief, I should be able to sign.
Then I will second it with the exception that Earl's the signature for the select board.
Did you get that in the notes? So Brian, you'll contact everybody when it's
Yeah.
ready.
When it's ready.
And you can come right in here whenever it's convenient for you and get it signed. Okay, so our motion for the board's approval for this MOU between all of us has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to abstain.
Cody abstains.
I'll show you on this surface. Okay, well, it only gets better.
Update before site selection, we don't.
What were you wanted to use the reports on the site selection in executive session?
Only because it is topping the dollar figures. I don't know if the individual, if he's actively advertising that same amount of money. I don't
Okay.
know.
So it would,
It is a real estate agreement, so it
Yeah.
probably should be, but I welcome the
yeah,
recommendation.
yeah, I've already made that clear, Rick, and, all right, so, but we can do the update on the master
Master
plan.
plan, yeah, that one.
That can be done here. And we got Bill, and he probably likes to leave.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Joe.
on the site location, it is a real estate issue, but why do we need to talk costs tonight? Why
Well, we
can't- why
wanted-
can't it be- Why can't it be in the open forum, what the group came
Because
up with?
it's
It won't
the,
put anybody at a disadvantage, it's public knowledge who owns that land, we just don't talk about a cost.
okay, what,
That puts somebody at a disadvantage.
okay, if you wanna leave the numbers out.
That's my recommendation,
Okay,
because the
all right.
numbers aren't really pertinent tonight.
All right, but, yeah, if we don't talk any numbers, then just where it's located, I don't see that as an issue, because if he offered to us, he'd offer to anybody.
And there'll be no outcome, so
Right,
there's no reason to
right,
go in.
right, we're not taking any action, no.
Right.
No, never would, okay.
Just a
All right.
suggestion, sir.
Good suggestion, Joe. I'd hire you as a consultant.
I was working for free before.
Earl, zip it.
It's like staring at
Well, I guess we'll let Brian, I assume who did he talk to?
Who?
The three, Brian, Bill,
No.
and Nicole
Yeah.
have been involved in that, okay? So they're the ones, so you guys can take over.
I'll leave it to Brian.
Okay, well, let me, so the three of us, Nicole, Bill, and myself, were that committee that put out the RFP, looking for people to, if they had some property that may be of interest, for us to consider. We actually only received one proposal, and that came from Mr. Adam Goss that has property on LaFar Drive that is for sale. He's got a total there of 27 plus acres, more or less.
23.
23? Okay. And at one point, the town owned that property. Sold it to a company that unfortunately went bankrupt. Property ended up in foreclosure. Mr. Goss bought it in a foreclosure sale. There's a lot of the property has got wetland issues. There are several parcels, small, ranging from 4 to 4.5 acres at various prices. So that So that's the only, it is close to the gas line, it is close to water, sewer would have to be worked on, and it is direct access to the LVRT and conveniently located at I-89. The town originally sold it, I believe, from what I've been informed, as they put it up for sale because they found it to be not really ideally developable due to the amount of ledge that's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of ledge.
Yeah.
So that's what we found out with that. There are individual prices quoted for the various parcels. We also had I had the conversation with Bill Rowell. He stopped in my office last week, and he was wondering how come we hadn't considered the 5-acre parcel of land that we already own adjacent to Missisquoi Valley Union High School. And I said, well, we hadn't thought about it, but we do know that it has gas, water, and sewer that would be able to be available. There's some issue with access to it and a variety of few other things that would have to be dealt with. Again, it's somewhat removed from the village center, as would the LaFar Street property. If we're looking for it to be used by senior citizen groups and whatnot. And then finally, yesterday morning, Kevin McWilliams, a realtor, stopped into my office and had mentioned that the property that's, if we considered property that's on Lavoie Avenue that has been already permitted for a housing development. I said that we hadn't, and I hadn't really discussed this with Bill or Nicole, but I mean, it has all the village utilities and everything, that's not a problem there. We'd have significant, I believe, permitting issues, because it's not zoned for that type of use. And I'm certain that people in the neighborhood, the existing neighbors, would not want that amount of traffic in their neighborhood. And that's, I gotta say, it's in my neighborhood, and I wouldn't be very happy with the amount of traffic being generated by that, in that area. Especially on Lavoie Avenue itself, it's a narrow street. So that's what we've got.
Mr. Chair?
Could that property be accessed by that Dunkin' Donuts road instead of going down the roads with all the houses and stuff? Could that be built to go straight ahead to that property?
The railroad bed?
Yeah, could that be more accessible for building there?
It might be, but we'd have to check into that, and it would still face a zoning hurdle. There would still be zoning has to be changed.
Yeah, because, I mean, who owns right in that area? Is that his property too back there? By the Dunkin' Donuts and Aubuchon, grocery store entrance?
I'd have to look at the map to see.
Okay.
I believe there's a couple of different owners. But they're looking at changing the zoning regs anyhow, so that potential, but I'm not.
Yeah, because I mean, we do have a grocery store right there, so a rec center on that same vicinity.
Coming in from that, and I believe that's the area of his property, of the present owner's property.
Okay.
Without looking at anything, and Amy laughs, she'd know more, she's been handling going. I believe that's the portion of the property that's got the most wetland.
Okay. And what did you say about LaFar Street? Was that, is it closer to the school, the high school area?
No, it's, LaFar Street is, right, you turn by Champlain Farms.
Yeah,
right,
and it
out
goes
there.
towards the river.
Right.
Right, and that area is higher up, is it on a hill, on a flood zone area?
It's higher up, it's, there's some wetlands there.
Okay.
But a large portion of it appears to be ledge. It would be somewhat
Challenge.
expensive to deal with.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that, the wetlands in that area, I believe, were created when they built the interstate.
Yeah.
They put fill out in certain areas that made them wetlands and into that discussion, but that's,
Okay.
so we will encounter that in a variety of ways.
All right. Did the person who has this property up for sale, over by the Lavoy Avenue and stuff, did they get any kind of testing done, or?
Well, it's all been over at the Lavoy Avenue site,
Yeah.
it's already permitted, approved to have, I believe, six houses built, or,
Oh, wow.
or 6 units, they're duplexes, 3 duplexes.
Is there a way to get maybe just to access it from a different angle to get to that area and be able to build in that area? Or is it still too close to other houses for a rec center?
I just mentioned it to Amy, and she says, well, it'd be, you've got the building, which would be larger, you know, but you also have the parking requirement, and that was a concern.
Okay, okay.
You know, it's not saying no, but there's a lot of questions.
I mean, we did get the Robin Hood area built, and that was kind of a little bit of a wet zone too, before, and they got plenty of parking and stuff, so maybe.
So we didn't get a lot of interest, or obviously there's probably not a lot of land available. That would meet our requirements.
Right, and we're not discussing price on this,
Right,
but,
right.
you know, there are, well, the property on Lavoy Avenue is advertised $450,000, so that's, comes right off the top of the construction costs.
All right, Joe?
Just real quick on the little fire, that was a industrial park that we were gonna develop.
Yep.
I was on the select board. That was done way before I was on the select board, but just stormwater improvements, and that's why we abandoned it. It was gonna be over $1 million back then. And now you're talking probably a couple million given what's taken place. So if we're thinking of doing anything in there, putting in the road, et cetera, we're gonna have to do all that type of infrastructure and stormwater preparation. So that just is something to think about, if that's even a concern for that. We got rid of it because of that reason. It was purchased by the company, and then the oil prices went way down, and it wasn't feasible anymore to make natural gas the way they were going to deliver it to people, and so they went.
Well, yes, Betsy.
So I think this was a good idea, and I think we got some good feedback from this property search, but I think, like Earl just said, none of these properties meet the expectations that we had set. It's not visible to the community, which Earl had said, if we're gonna build something, it needs to be visible. There's no pedestrian path away in some of these locations, so that would be an issue. And it's away from the village and town accessibility to our community members that don't have vehicles. And I think that it's clear that the spot that we have chosen is the most ideal spot for this project, and it's free.
Well, that's a matter of opinion.
The property's free.
Yes.
And it has sewer,
yes.
water, electricity. Where's this?
Has a lot of benefits.
Department
Okay,
in the
did you
lower
want to comment, Steve?
No,
No.
I just think we ought to, this was a very useful exercise.
Yeah.
I think it served us well, and I think it's gonna redirect us
Yes.
where we started.
Yeah.
But it just adds more support to where we're looking. I'm not sure the site that we're discussing is the best one. No one has told me that it has, that it's gonna be, but it keeps us focused back in that area.
Yeah.
And now maybe we can spend a little more time looking at expanding our holdings in that area.
Yeah, being aware of what was, you know, the replies we got on that RFP, I think, you know, we need to find out what Shelburne Limestone might be willing to do. I don't.
What do you mean
Well, instead of using that street,
Oh,
would they
like
consider anything like that? Is that a possibility?
for them to use a different,
Well, they do have a different way out.
but, well, they do, and I think they can use it, they just choose not to, correct?
Well, they don't use, they use what's convenient.
Right.
So if Shelburne Limestone decided to say no more Jewett Street to all the truckers, then they're gonna have to come in on the other road.
I mean. and
That's their decision to make.
Right.
I don't believe we can make them do it, because I believe there must be some kind of long-term agreement over that road, because they were there long before anybody else was. Not Shelburne Limestone, but the quarry. So I don't know what the deal is on that.
I don't know, and Joel, and jog your memory a bit on the development of Robin Hood Extension, Robin Hood Drive Extension. There was, I was on the village trustees when a lot of that was going on. The thought was at that time was that Mr. Demers would move his scales to closer proximity to that second entrance by John's Bridge. There may be reasons why he hasn't done that, I don't know. There was some discussion and there was a reason given affecting Act 250 permits, and you know that can be like. I don't know, but that was originally talked about. Hasn't happened.
Well, we really should try to see what could be done, you know, I mean, that gives us another option. That might make it more attractive to use that entrance, because the way it is now, it's not a great thing. And I don't think anybody's gonna argue that point. You know, so we'll at least start working on that, because we got time. Wait a minute, I just wanna, before I forget, because I do that. Have you heard anything back on our feasibility study?
No, not yet, but.
So we're expecting the same timeline?
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't heard otherwise. So,
Okay. Okay,
Have they been approached about the potential for?
probably a long time ago. I don't think it's been done recently. Are you guys aware of anything?
No.
No.
Okay. So they may be open to.
It's a possibility. They may be open to that.
But
You know,
we have a very good standing relationship with them,
Oh, great.
so, I mean, they donated property to us.
Wow.
Have them donate more.
what?
Have them donate more. But we do.
They don't have any more to donate.
Sorry, Jason, we do
Yeah.
already share that road with them. All our programs already share that road with.
I understand that, but we're looking at something that's, you're talking community rec center, you're gonna have a lot, so wouldn't it be better, I mean, if we can do it, so we need, I don't see what's the problem with finding out if it's possible.
Right, but I don't think that should be our deciding factor.
It might not be, but this is an option, you gotta have something on, different choices. Cause you gotta sell this to the voters. And there's a lot of questions out there, I think we got correspondence, that we got, that, addresses some of the concerns I've been hearing.
Yeah. Actually, we've got two pieces of correspondence relative to this project, if you want me to. I
Well,
have that under correspondence, but.
I don't know if it's particular to this, I would, you could give them a copy. I don't
Okay.
think we really need to put it here, because that's not under this, it doesn't really fit under that, does it? Under what we're discussing, as far as.
Well, it's discussing the right.
Yeah, but that's not specific to detail.
Yeah.
So, I guess, is any of the other members of that committee got anything to say?
I'm gonna regret this, but I'm gonna do it. Hey, Bill Sheets with Swanton Village. Isn't the goal of everyone in this room to demonstrate that you're identifying the most viable site?
Yes.
So wouldn't we want to do a true, cheap, free, committee-based feasibility study where we look at all the land that Joel already has looked at, quick revisit, identify on a white paper for the voters, for the citizens, that the following however many sites were viewed. Here's the location, asking price, parcel map, tax map, whatever, brief description, pros, cons,
Yeah.
and then it's a living document.
Yeah,
And no one's guessing what
Yeah.
you've done.
yeah.
So I would suggest strongly, if he's willing, that Joel Clark be one of those committee members because of his past involvement and experience. I'm willing to help in any way. It's not a heavy lift. And then you have a living document that shows everybody what's been done.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be quite handy at a public hearing, that, you know, once we get the feasibility study, to put that out there. So we have what we got returned, and Joel, you have some other sites or that you had looked, you guys had looked at? Not specifically.
Oh, yes, as was
Yeah.
mentioned, there were 5 locations, okay? And I was trying to be a go-between the select board and the rec department with my background in facilities, etc.,
Yeah.
civil engineer, and other things. Yeah, we looked at 5 places, and representing the rec board took one of the 5 and said that's the one that we want to go forward with.
Yeah, understand that.
September of 2022, we had a joint meeting. 3 members of this board were at that meeting where we talked about the selection being down in the hole, if you want to call it that.
That's what they call it.
Okay,
I'm just saying
I'm
everybody
not
calls
saying it
Yeah.
derogatory.
Yeah, I know,
Okay?
but it is.
And
It is
some
a
people
whole-
don't like it there. I understand that. That's democracy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
So in September, 3 board members were there at the joint meeting. Decision was to move forward with that. I never heard any more about, because the village had to, you know, do some paperwork to get the land to the town. It was talked, it sounded like everything was gonna move forward. And then we moved along and we got a price from Cross Consultant to design for that location. December of 2022, this board approved, 4 members here are still here to go ahead with that design. But yes, we've got 5 locations to go back to that. And at that point, we were moving forward. We all agreed to stop when we get the estimate, and that's what we did. And that's when all these other slew of questions came forward. Okay, understand, you want a feasibility study, let's go ahead and do that. To me, and we can talk that location, I'll be glad to put it all on a white paper. Some other people decide pros, cons, etc. We can do that, so we got a document. That's great stuff.
well, we're gonna have to. Now, I think you're gonna need to have that information, because you're gonna get them questions. You know, I've thought about this, and, you know, it really bothers me that, you know, we're wasting a lot of energy. But I gotta tell you, it's probably a damn good thing we're doing this, because the people I talk to out on the street are putting them same questions, you know, there's questions there, okay? So now we know we're gonna need answers. So that's what we gotta work on. That's what we should put our energy into, is answers to all the options that are available. And then we can present that. And that would include the work that's been done, the other sites and stuff. That, I agree, Bill, that's gonna be the right approach, because we're gonna have to work on this to get it done.
But what I agree, Earl, and what I think is, though, we need to get this select board and pretty much the trustees on board with whatever this board and the trustees will support in the rec department,
Yeah.
before we go out and try to explain all the different things that we did.
I agree 100%.
Because some people are
Yeah.
seeing some chasms and they are exploiting them to slow this down.
Yeah, well, that's why I brought up the issue of Shelburne limestone tonight, because this is something that is gonna help us make better decisions, you know, because that's one of the concerns people bring up. So if we start addressing those kind of issues, now location-wise, you know, it could be a struggle, but there may have to be some kind of changes, and maybe it won't be all at one site. Maybe it's better if it's done a different way. I don't know, because, you know, just because of the concern that people have over the location. So we may have to work on some things there, but this can all get done, Joel.
I
You know.
can, but what we need to do is sit down with you 5,
All right?
with those other locations,
Yep.
and pick them apart,
Yep.
and see whether in the hole. And again, you gotta get the rec board behind it. They're the ones who've gotta manage and make it happen after. See if we can come up with an agreement, much like the library and the historical society and the board just did,
Yeah.
on a location.
Yep.
Because if we can't get that agreement, we're not moving forward.
But to be fair to the community, I would like to get a lot of their input as much as I can before. And this is all gonna be taking place as soon as we get this, study done, this feasibility study. That's why we need to put our presentation together of what is there and what's been done.
I highly recommend this board and have a blessing from the village on a location before you go public with a feasibility study.
Agreed.
And the public
Okay.
may say location, and this is just Joel Clark,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying, we ought to really sit down
Okay?
and go over those possible sites and
Yeah.
say, as a board, this is what we want to do with, getting the buy-in from the rec department. And then go to the public and say, we looked at all these.
Yeah.
And then they may come back and say.
So you
guys
wanna
are
just
crazy."
say one thing, then this is what you're gonna do.
I think it's great. I think it's very important if we're gonna try to sell this to the community. Because right now, people can watch the TV and they can read the tea leaves,
Oh, yeah,
to and
TV,
stuff,
yeah.
and that's
Right.
democracy, got it. But if we can get the board behind the location, then we have the feasibility study information, a location agreed upon by the town and the village. Then we go out and do the public campaign, is what we always tried to do when we first said we wanted to go forward and get the estimate, and then we wanted to go out and sell this, and then we got stopped for the feasibility study, which understand, I got it. And so I backed off on that.
Okay, so you want now, if we don't agree with your plan, are you gonna be willing to change it?
That's up to the rec board.
I know.
not
It's up-
I'm the go-between.
Okay, that's up to the rec board, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I think one thing for this board to make a really sound decision, we need to know what the future of Jewett Street's gonna be. There are some real estate issues right on that site that we need to find out, and we are working on that. And, maybe we can do something, that's gonna eliminate choices, okay? Then we might have to go forward with what's being proposed. But I definitely want to, we need to do something on Jewett Street. Either way, even if we don't do it there. So finding that out is one thing. The select board is gonna work on the property issue to see if there's any potential there. So we'll bring that to the table, that may change, and then we can sit down, let's look at some of the stuff that, you had.
Property on Jewett Street was one of the 5 sites.
I know, so
Right,
let's look at that,
And
yeah.
that needs to know whether that's a viable option, I agree.
Yep.
And we should bang right around this table,
Yep.
all the ideas, and come up with a way forward.
Well, one day
And make the table big enough so all the parties in there. And then
okay,
we go.
so we need to get this done then. And, what do you got, Steve?
Just a question. My hearing's not good, Joel, but did you say foolish questions? Is that what you said?
What's that?
My hearing's not good, but I think when you stood up, said we had to go through all these foolish questions. Okay, but I didn't hear that. All right.
I hope I didn't say
No,
foolish
I
questions.
didn't hear that, I didn't
There
hear.
are questions that have to be, if I can't say me, if we can't, the rec department and me trying to help them get this board to come to an agreement, we are dead in the water. So questions are good questions, but what happens is, they keep coming up. All of a sudden, and don't take this wrong, Earl, because I know Jewett Street, I've got a concern about Jewett Street when I pick Meals Up on Wheels that Ed does and sees all the traffic there. But we've learned to live with it, but ideally, they should come in off Robin Hood. That was the hope when we did that there was gonna go forward, get the scales moved, and get a lot of the truck traffic out of the downtown.
Yeah.
But for different reasons, it didn't. But yes, you gotta get.
Yeah, we gotta keep moving, so I would say you gotta set up a time, and I agree 100% with you, Joel, and I think Bill agree too, that we need to have the trustees at least at the table so they know what's going on. And, cause they probably got concerns too. But you're right about getting everybody on board. I mean, we're gonna have to be, so.
One thing, I know we keep coming up with new questions, and I think that's healthy, but we might have to have an environmental analysis done of the land that the MERS gave us. We don't know, it's just, it's like a phase 1, and maybe we ought to ask somebody to do one for us now, So we don't have to get way down the road, and say, oh, damn it,
I don't
now we
know.
have to have a phase 1 study. We might wanna give that some thought.
I
don't
assume
know what's
it
in
must have been part of the permitting
it's-
process,
yeah,
wasn't it?
That's part of the process already.
So have you had one done?
No, it's part of the process.
Okay.
It hasn't been done, and I appreciate, and you brought that up before. I think right now, because we're not even sure that that's the site, that I wouldn't spend a lot of money on that yet. I would get the meeting where we try to sit and go through and get comfortable with a consensus, and hopefully it's all 5.
Yeah.
And the trustees of, this is where we think is the best spot for a community center. Let's rally around it and let's make it happen. And if it needs an environmental, phase 1, we do that. I'm more comfortable knowing that site for all these years we've used it, that it was not an industrial site right there.
Never was.
That,
Never was.
right, that we're not gonna find significant contamination there. But I can't say that without running the pit down there and seeing it. But if we spend $10,000, $12,000 doing that, and then all of a sudden that isn't the location, we haven't gained anything. I think as a group we need to get, I've said it enough times.
No, I agree that we should definitely do that move.
Well,
keep
then,
us in the forward
When do we
direction.
meet?
Yeah,
Well,
when
that's
we meet,
what I'm
exactly.
trying to figure out here.
Any
I
step
don't
forward is
know, what do you think the village is, I'm sure the trustees would be interested in being involved in this.
Well, we have to.
Sure, I can speak for the trustees, not, oh, right there. Some of this stuff stays right out. I saw you walk in, I know. No, there's a few projects going on, but I just want to capture what I think everybody's saying. We still do due diligence, we create a living, working document that then your job is to evaluate that, working with your allied partners here.
Yes.
To determine the best
Yes,
path forward.
yes, we need that document. The same thing we were talking about presenting to the public.
So your job is to give that guy right there that works for you, Brian, a
Yeah.
deadline as to when we need to do this. When do you need that document by?
All right, that was,
Tomorrow.
sooner than later.
Not good enough, no. Say no, Brian, no.
well, what would you think would be a reasonable time? You're gonna have to coordinate some of this, cause Joel's got a lot of information. Are you gonna schedule it in or out of town or right in the next couple of weeks?
Not in the next couple of weeks, other than next Thursday.
We have a special meeting on the 22nd for the adoption of the
Town plan?
town plan, which shouldn't
That shouldn't be very
take
long,
very long.
Right,
so do it that meeting.
so you could have
That's what I'm thinking.
your feeling that you be, okay,
It's
so,
an excellent choice, I'll be on vacation in Maine.
Thanks a lot, Bill.
I'm here to help you with the document up to that point though.
So I think that's fairly reasonable. You said there's 5 parcels, Joel?
There's 5 different sites that we looked at.
Okay.
And
I
you've
kept
got, now
reading
you got a
those.
couple other proposals. I know you had that information at the last meeting. I didn't stay after a certain amount. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, we can, I think
All right.
that should be workable.
that's cool. Schedule it for the 22nd.
Yep.
And you be the second on the agenda. We gotta do the town plan first, but generally doesn't take too long unless we have a lot of people show up.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the number of people we had. We had this room full. It's the first time I've ever actually seen it full at a select board meeting. I'm sure it has in the past, but and I really appreciate people coming.
So to clarify, that meeting on the 22nd is just your governance structure, not the trustees? Or am I extending an invite to the trustees
No,
if they are available?
They should be here for the town plan.
Yes.
Because it affects the village, so.
Yeah,
Do they know about that yet? The
No.
22nd meeting?
but you'll tell them.
Probably not, but
Okay.
you notify them.
I will do that.
Okay, thank you. And it'll be held here. That's just my opinion. My opinion is that they may want to be here for the town plan. Because it affects the village. And if I was in Montpelier, there would be some changes in the statute as it relates to that. But, you know, it shouldn't, overall, that hearing for the town plan, the adoption shouldn't take very long. So we start at 6 o'clock. So.
All right, Alright, now we got updates on park and recreation map. Whoops.
So I keep hearing they should be here. We're gonna warn it as a joint meeting or try to warn it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yes. And should the rec
Thank you.
department
See
be
you
there?
later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Should the rec department be there as well for that?
Be nice to them historical society people too.
We do our best.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would definitely recommend the rec department.
Yeah,
being
the
there
rec department too.
For sure.
Yeah.
The next meeting,
Yeah,
the rec department
The
definitely. should be-
22nd.
Yep,
on the, well, of course they're gonna be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is it.
Maybe you should
Oh,
ask
okay. Well, I just took it for granted, that's all.
You just assumed I'd be there.
Yes, I just,
Okay.
I just took it for granted because, I mean, that's what the discussion's been all about. Master plan, recreation, has anybody got an update on that?
Well, we have one in the file. It's, again, that same committee of Nicole, Bill, and myself.
You guys.
We did discuss this, and the general consensus is that it probably should be conducted, the master plan should be developed once the site is nailed down for the community rec center. Because that would be form the centerpiece, and then you can build a plan around that,
Makes sense.
And that's the consensus of the committee.
of the three of us.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then I thought that we added in that a new committee could do the master plan. It would consist of one member of the select board, one member of the community appointed by a select board, member of the rec committee board, the village manager, and the town administrator, just as suggested.
Yeah. Maybe, we could warn that as part of that meeting, with the trustees, and that we could get somebody from the board appointed and stuff.
Right.
Get that,
Yeah.
get that group, I mean,
We can
even
do
they,
that.
yeah. Alright, any other comments on that? Yes, Bethany?
I just wanted to thank Nicole, Bill, and Brian for taking this on for the rec department. I appreciate your support.
You're welcome.
I'm all in.
Yeah, we know. We appreciate that.
Wow, and so does the select board appreciate their effort. You know, very important issue, and it's gonna take a lot of work by a lot of people to get this done.
I want to thank Joel Clark too for everything.
Yeah,
as well.
Joel.
But he's not listening.
Uh,
Thank you, Joel, for everything.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel. And thank you for dropping the file off.
Interesting original letter for the rent of the
It
Historical
certainly is.
Society paying the library.
Certainly.
Yep, found that the other day. I didn't want to bring it up earlier. Things are going good.
Yeah.
Is
Betsy?
there any reason why I need to stay for any recreational further discussion that
No.
you may have in the next few?
You wanna be careful though, Betsy, we got an appointment to fill, but so go ahead, leave it. No, I'm just joking. No, that's it, no. I didn't have a chance to have supper tonight, so I'm trying to get out of here as quickly as I
Oh, we'll
can.
fill you in and left me some leftovers.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, Nick, you're up.
Thank you, Joel.
Good.
So, you just make a motion?
Thank you, everyone.
Nick, we've had a vacancy on the trustees of public money for quite a while. Nick had intended to run for that position last March, but didn't get his nominating petition in. So I have no problem, and Mr. Hemingway is the other trustee of public money, and we have no problem if Nick would like to serve, and he can go run for election. This is to fill that unexpired term until next March, and then he runs again.
First of all, Nick, thank you for coming forward. Okay, I think that's great to have young people like you. My only question is, you're on the cemetery commission.
Yep.
And you want to be a trustee of public money, great. But is there any conflict between those two roles?
No,
Nope.
because we're already all.
We're already all on.
We're already, Cody and I are both on the cemetery division and the trustees.
Okay,
There's no
good,
conflict.
that's all I had. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good question.
Okay, so we got a motion?
I move.
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I think.
Motion carried, Nick, you've got a new job.
Yeah, aye.
Thank you for
Thank you, Nick.
stepping forward.
You're welcome.
You'll have to take an oath of office, so
Yeah.
you're gonna be here next Tuesday evening for the BCA.
Yeah, a little bit.
We can have it ready for you,
Okay, so Tuesday at, what time?
6:30.
6:30? I'll definitely do that.
Okay.
Okay,
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
was there something else underneath there?
Yep, report from Northwest Regional
Yes,
Planning.
yes.
Just a few things that we went over at the last Board of Commissioners meeting that I wanted to share with the group. The Board of Commissioners did adopt the regional plan, which I did share with everybody, and want to thank everybody who did put input in or invest in time in reading that. The group was really excited to adopt that. Other things that we talked about, just so you guys are aware, the Brownsfield Committee did allocate funds from an EPA assessment grant for Phase 2 assessment at Maquon Bay of the Missisquoi, which is a project that we did sign off of in a previous thing. So they are continuing to move forward with their rehab and expansion. The Brownfields Committee was also working on ongoing assessments with the village at the Riviera site. And then there was an initial meeting with their TAC committee about I-89 northbound, the exit at 21. I've seen I've received a lot of community questions, inputs about that. So there is a group of people that are working on that in regards to concerns of the backup on the ramp and the intersections in the area of 78 and Frontage Road. And then more specifically for us, the Board of Commissioners did approve the work plan for 2024, and included in that work plan is the feasibility study that we had asked for 207 and Bushy Street intersection. So that will be moving in motion for 2024. So, just wanted to share.
That's good.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks.
Highway Department Bureau.
You had to bring up something on that
Yeah.
grant, that I don't know, but I do wanna bring up one thing.
We had a question.
Whoops.
So what's going on with the ramp?
They're
Acknowledging
meeting,
it.
correct, and they're gonna have continued meetings to discuss what those projects are moving forward.
I almost got rear-ended just this week.
I'm on that committee and I was at that meeting, so, yeah, it's just formulated, the initial,
They wanna put sidewalk.
you're dealing with the state, so it's just the
Yes.
initial
Get back.
step to bring, although the state has moved it and then asked them to take it on, so.
Well, if there's anything from the public that we can do to help this get moved along, I would be open to getting that going with the state. I do think there is a huge liability happening there, because if I had to stop on the interstate to wait to get down that ramp, and they're, they're hauling,
And school makes it.
they're fast, it's kind of like a blind spot coming up there. I can write a letter to the state, if anything, to kind of get this.
I mean, you're always welcome to do so. I was just an acknowledgement that more people are looking at that as a problem area. So.
Yes, very wise to do.
Okay, the issue I wanted to bring, oh, well, I got something else written here too, and I can't read my reading.
V-Trans grant.
Oh, V-Trans grant, but that, is something that we do every year. Do we have a specific project we're gonna use that grant for?
It has to be a specific project, and Kevin and I talked about that a few months ago, so we're gonna revisit. It's basically, it'd be a culvert replacement to make sure, and we're talking only $15,000 maximum, so
Okay,
it can't be a big culvert. But it's to, in the effort to clean up the lake, so it keeps, they'll line it with stone and all this stuff. And, so that's what well, the Campbell Bay Road culvert was done last year.
Done that way, yes.
Is that program.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly sure we won't be any problem finding a place to
No,
culvert.
we'll find probably more than one.
I did spend a little bit of time with Kevin up to Swan, look at that bury that culvert deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it's holding up. You know, it would be, if they wanna do what they wanna do, it's gonna be a lot of money. But, that aside, you know, that's Swan Hill Road. The whole kinda intersection area, Swan Hill and Berry Road, is it?
Well, we don't have Berry Road.
Right,
It's all
well,
Swanton Hill.
yeah.
Swanton Hill and
Yeah.
French Hill Road.
Yeah, okay, right, French Hill Road.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when it was originally done, the paving was only,
Base coat.
base coat. It was never finished. So it's kind of, it's breaking up bad,
Real bad.
what you can imagine. And then, of course, you got the issue of going down Swanton Hill. We do have some cost estimates on fixing Swanton Hill. The whole area should be paved, but if that happens next year, it's going to pretty much eat up most of our paving budget. You know, about half of it, just one there. I mean, he doesn't have that much down as be done now, but I mean, it really does need to be done. Kevin is gonna look into cost, to see if we were gonna do all the paving, plus fix the Swanton Hill Road itself. And we can take a look at that cost and then possibly consider 5-year financing or something to get it done. His concern, and I agree with him 100%, is that if we have to put that much up there, we're gonna get further behind, because the last couple of years we have got behind on our paving, because we can't do as many tons because the cost per ton went up so much. And it's kind of scary when you think about it. I mean, we could easily be $1 million behind in 3 years.
Earl, I think I asked this before, but how many homes are up on the Berry, Swanton Hill?
There's 3 of them up there.
Okay. We have to do a little decision-making. I don't mean to be unkind, but there's only 3 homes up there.
I know, I
And we've
understand.
got multiple homes, other areas that need
Yeah.
paving,
But
so.
Steve, there's no way we're gonna be able to give up that road.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying,
Okay, now,
let's just look at alternatives.
what the real issue is in the wintertime, it is a real safety issue for our employees.
Yep.
And that's never gonna go away. And we're never gonna be able to dump the road. That road was there before any of us were here. You know, there was a farm up in there at one time. And, you know, and it's a town, is responsible for taking care of it, and we're not gonna get out of it. So I know that, from a cost standpoint, you know, I mean, if it's strictly a business decision, no, you know, you wouldn't even go, you'd do it, but we're not a business, we're a town, and so we are gonna end up having to take care of it, sooner or later. And I'd hate to see one of our employees get hurt.
But it's the restructure of the road that you're trying to do first before paving.
Well, we do it as part of the whole
Right,
project.
but after the project's done,
yeah.
you're not gonna
Yeah,
pave and
right,
then
no,
tear it up and,
no,
right, you
right.
wanted to do the project to correct
Yeah.
the danger in the road and then
Yeah.
pave it.
And that would allow, I mean, I looked at the numbers that Kevin had, and for the roads, the other roads that really need to be done outside of that area. And if we do that one separate, we're almost gonna stay above water, which is good, you know, because then maybe prices might drop in the future, who knows? But, we're not gonna get behind. Yeah, well, you never know. But anyways, you know, we'll be staying close to above water. If we don't, but if we do it that way. But I don't know if we wanna do that, but Kevin is gonna work on the numbers. I just wanted the board to be aware that it's something that's gonna be coming forward.
Thank you.
That's all I got on that. All right, is there any other? Whoop,
You need the motion, I need the okay to apply for that grant.
I'll make a motion for Brian to apply for the grant.
Second, motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Okay, now we can go on any other necessary business.
Sure, you did the update.
Oh, all right, correspondence. We have a letter from Ed
You
Daniels.
had your letter from Ed Daniels, which you all received.
Yep.
And then also, Gordon Winters had sent an email, and he was just wanting to make sure that everybody got it. I
Yeah.
included a copy of it.
Yeah, I did,
just in
I
case
actually
you
read
didn't.
it.
You did?
Yeah.
So he just wanted to
Yep.
make sure that
We all got it.
everybody, he wasn't able to attend this
Yeah.
evening, but he just wanted to make sure everybody got it. So,
Good email, and a letter from Ed Daniels is, something to think about.
Good letters.
Yes, actually,
very good.
very good points in there. Okay, we're gonna go on to upcoming events, so public comment.
They all went home.
We scared them off. Upcoming events. The first annual Corn Fest, August 12th, from 2 to 8 p.m. at the John Raleigh Field. And do you want to add something to that, Nicole?
Oh, it's gonna be a fun time. We've got 2 live bands, we've got food trucks, Nellie's will be there with their cash bar. We've got family fun events happening all throughout the event. If you wanna huck a cob, shuck a cob, or bob for cob, you wanna come to Corn Fest.
And you have live music.
Live music.
Okay.
The North Heroes, which is the MVU band,
Yeah.
and Mad Mojo.
Oh, yeah. Bad Mojo's the one that scares me. But it looks like it's, a well-planned event, and, hopefully people will show up. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I know it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be a blast.
All right, next select board meeting is August 15th here at the town offices and by Zoom. The planning commission will be meeting on Wednesday, the 16th, at the town offices here. There will be a special select board meeting Tuesday, August 22nd, and that's gonna be updated because we're gonna be meeting with the rec commission and the village trustees, so,
Yep.
but it's still taking place on the 22nd. And then the DRB meeting, the Development Review Board, is August 24th at 6 p.m. here at the town offices. I request a very brief executive session just to talk about one single thing, and it's basically to let the board know what's going on. That's it. And we could leave this room because it ain't gonna take 2 minutes. If somebody wants to make a
Contract, personnel.
real estate.
Real estate. I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential real estate information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
I second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. I move that based on our just made findings, the premature disclosure would place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage. We now enter executive session.
I'll second that.
All right, motion's been made and seconded.
Have a good evening.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening. Session's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got one more motion. Get on it.
I move.
I'll second.
I have some discussion.
Okay, motion to, okay, I forgot what I was gonna say.
I got you.
I think you set a record, Mr. Chair.
I did?
2 hour, 1 minute meeting? And we got a lot of ground
You done
covered.
that?
Yeah.
Just wanna.
Yeah, the motion's been made to, end this select board meeting and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's it. We're-